Hey, Phil from Got Memories here. Gonna clamp you to my neck here. This video, I'm gonna cover mini DVD camcorders. I've got endless videos on this horrific format, and this particular video is about Hitachi. Now, Hitachi was like Matsushita, oh my god, my brain's fried now. As usual, Toshiba, Hitachi, and then there's another one that's escaping my mind, but they all look the same, but they've all got similar operating systems. And very common now is where people are putting their discs in camcorders, either the one that they originally recorded them on, or you got one off eBay and they're coming up with these errors. There are so many reasons why this is happening. And this video, yeah, it's going to be a little long-winded sometimes. My videos, I just work as I go and figure things out. But I'm going to show you here, and you can skip around in these videos, but I don't edit them. I don't have time. I'm just basically out here helping. Yes, this is a form of marketing. Yes, I do this for a living. So if you're like pulling your hair out, if you figure it out based on the information that I give you, fantastic. If you do want to throw in the towel, I get it. You can reach out to me, fill out the quote form at gotmemories.com. I need as much information as possible. I will ask you an absolute ton of questions in the quote form, and then also some more follow-up questions in email, or if you're calling on the phone. These discs are sometimes 25% of the time, everything goes to plan with these discs. The rest of the times, they are an absolute effing nightmare. This customer here said they haven't finalized the discs. If you're not sure what finalizing is, it's the process you have to go through with the disc, through the menu, to write basically code on it. So it is now lock and key, and nothing can be recorded on it unless it's rewritable or RAM. It's all very confusing, I know. But finalizing is the process where they're playable in DVD players. So if you're getting, they're not playing, you've got to finalize them. But this is the purpose of this video, actually. I'm making this video in August of 2025. I'm seeing more and more problems with finalizing as these discs are delaminating and ungluing. It's called disc rot. Discs that have not been stored correctly in climate control conditions. Cheap discs galore are not. Look at this. I mean, you see me just messing around with this camera. You think, what's he messing around at? I'm trying to get the disc out of this thing. This is the customer's supposedly original camcorder, although I never know, because somebody down the line could have just bought the camera off of eBay thinking everything is the same. Yeah, no. Every disc has to be finalized in ideally the exact original camcorder. If it has not, look, this is what's happening right now. Found error. Look, never ever in the history of discs is this ever repaired. It will never ever say disc repaired. So what you have to do, and the thing is that makes me think this isn't the right camcorder is, come on, eject, for crying out loud. The whole time, what? Here we go. All right, the reason why I think possibly this isn't the right one is, look, the first date of this is 1/1/2003, manufacture kind of 2002. So we're talking 23 years old, these lasers. Everything was meant to last like 30 discs worth and then tossed. So there wasn't a lot of R&D into longevity with this stuff, hence where we are. But these, I saw the customer had them in the picture. I do require photos of everything, especially the data side, to look for scratches, cracks. And I don't think this customer had them in any sort of storage, any cases. And so I'm like, hey, immediately put them in Ziploc bags, individual Ziploc bags, to stop any scratching or any further scratching, because that does hinder a lot. And I can see these are all chipped away. I can see here there are scratches. There's little pit marks in here. There is a little bit of disc rot. It's very hard to see. People think, oh, this is clean. No, as you start to, those bits there are indented into the disc. Yes, I could run this through, which I got steps to scratch removal, etc., so on. But it's all time. So I like to kind of just get this going first of all. Now, the one thing that makes me believe this possibly isn't the original camera, I don't know, could be, couldn't be, is you can't just put a disc in here. It has to go in one of these specialized cases that you cannot find anywhere. Here's one sealed, but they are like these silly protective cases, but I say lightly protected because all of this is scratchable, and once scratched, it is done for. Now, this won't recognize, you saw how long that's got out, took just to get it out of the camera. It is not reading in the DVD player. It won't read in here. It's saying there's an error. That could be a number of things. But I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to use a product called CD Roller, which is a paid program. I'm not a massive fan of it. There's ISO Buster. Nothing is Mac based, which I'm not a fan of any of this stuff. If there is not a Mac version, I know there's PC, Windows people out there, but it's like working on an Atari. So I like to, there aren't many good disk recovery programs that work on the Mac unless you're using, anyway. So now I'm just going to run this here and see if this is popping up with something, because there is information on the disk. There is data. Look, it says it right here. Look, DVD. So if I click that, identify raw ISO files. Oops, sorry. This is going to take a moment, but it is registering as a DVD. Okay. So I got to go down these rabbit holes, and a lot of times it ends in a dead end, or I got to find the bad sectors and it's a lot of work. It's like if your hard drive failed, same thing. These are all individual hard drives, so to speak. And they are not very reliable. So I go through a lot of dead ends with all this stuff. I pull my hair out with this stuff. People think this is going to be a straightforward process. Not many companies touch these discs because there's so many problems and variables, and they just don't have the skilled labor or are unwilling to pay a living wage to said labor force. And the prices you see on transfers dictate that. You will see that immediately. If you see a price and it seems, oh my God, that's cheap. Yeah. It tells you everything you need to know about their labor force, their workflows, their quality of work. And as I say to everybody, till I'm blue in the face, you check maps.google.com for reviews. Not Yelp, not fake ads, not fake review sites, but Google reviews. So via Maps. And that will give you the correct, skinny on everything. That doesn't mean to say that they're competent. I have done reviews on one particular. Oh, here we go. This is money right here, okay? Figuratively and literally speaking. Let's have a look here. This one here, because now I can tell this camera is old and crap. This is the customer's camera. Because the screen, you see that green? Anyway, look, it has remaining minutes, 0, and you got that 0:00 in the pause button. Now, I am gonna capture this via, I'm gonna try USB first. Old school USB, the old school 1.0 or whatever it is, called into here and see if this, oh balls, what just happened? Again, these camcorders, 2003, so you think manufactured at 23 years old. Think of a 23-year-old car. Same thing with 23-year-old media. I think that screen, oh no, the screen's really, really bad. Okay, I'm gonna have to dip into one of my camcorders again, now I've got to go through this process here. I got to pull one of my camcorders, Hitachi. Let's have a look. I have a collection. This is I should have pulled this out earlier. Hitachi, that was a good grab. And pull the camcorder. Now I've got to try and get the disc out. It's only when people see these videos on YouTube that you realize how much work is involved in all of this. I mean, I haven't done anything in 10 minutes. I've done a lot, but I haven't done anything productive, like moving forward with the project. People just think, oh, this is going to cost, like, this company is saying like $6, right? And then, yeah, okay, pay $6. And then they'll say, hey, we can't get anything off of it. And they keep you $6. Some companies are charging $100, you know. It really is. So this is where I think potentially that isn't the original camera. Maybe because this plastic piece was not in there. Typically, they're all in these plastic things, but there was none of that inside. And they didn't include it. So this is Hitachi. Again, the fact it came up with REM, remaining minutes, does show me that it is potentially Matsushita, so, you know, Toshiba, Hitachi, and Panasonic. But let's have a look. Let's give it a whirl here. This one over here, while that's thinking. Oh, here we go. 91 thumbnails. Now, this is the tough part, because now in 2025, I am seeing where I get this. You know, I get all the thumbnails there, okay? It'll play now, or it might skip, I don't know, but it'll play. There we go. It's playing. There we go. Now I finalize it, and then all of a sudden it'll error out. I'm seeing more and more errors. And then you get that disk repair thing that I got going on here. And now I got to go through this like 5-hour head banging 50-50 chance of recovery process, or I just capture it real time in the camera, running it through RCA or USB. And let's just go back here. I'm just afraid to finalize these things now because it causes me so much headache on the back end. And people, you know, it just... All right, this, yeah, I'm going to capture now. A couple of ways you can do this. The quick and easy way is you capture it through like S-Video or RCA through a capture card, or you hook it up through USB through an old school computer, and then it should come up with like a little hard drive thing here. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It'll look like, you know, on the Mac. You know, right here, boom, and it'll show a hard drive, and you open it, and there'll be all these video TS file, video TS folder. Let's have a look here. Card, access PC. So the PC, yeah, no, it's not working. All of these things are so fiddly. So then you've got to get the right adapter. I've got, where's all my Panasonic Matsushita? No, they're all very specific. And you need, sometimes if you don't have the RCA, you've got to find a camcorder on eBay and buy the entire kit and caboodle just to get the AC adapter, or the AV adapter. And what I'm going to do here, I am going to hook it up through RCA. And of course, there'll be trolls galore going, no, that's not how you do it. You do it your way. This is all about time and money, okay? So you've got to figure out, you know, what you're charging. S-Video. You got your cables here. And there we go. Now let's try and we got that covered. I'm just going to unplug this. I always reset. There's plenty of ways to do this. If this was coming up with the hard drive thing on here, I would be pull in the video TS folder over with all the VOBs, and then I'd be running it through, what's the program here? iSky, or there's a whole bunch of different things where you then convert the VOB files to MP4. But that's if everything extracts off the disk. If there's any errors or any scratches or dings, it does become like, it's so when you're covering data and you got 1%, 2%, 3%, it's just like if there's any problems with the disk, it doesn't skip over it. It just hangs at like 37%. But when you're capturing it live, it's a bit more of a quicker process, and it'll usually kind of skip over or freeze, kind of like you rented a movie from Blockbuster and then halfway through it would freeze and pixelate because of scratches. And you can like move on from it a little bit. I just saw it right there. Here we go. This video. Boom. All right. So one thing with DVDs is you bring the gain down a little bit on the audio if you use an Elgato, and then you make sure that it's on 1. There's 91 stop starts, so there's 91 chapters. So you hit boom, and then there you go. That's another thing with the VOB files. There probably will be 91 VOB files that you've got to then convert. Oh my God, it's a nightmare. Anyway, so, because sometimes it'll start on page 91, it'll do the last thing for like whatever the time was, 20 seconds of recording, and then it goes, oh, we're done. So you've got to have it on 001, okay? And then you hit, and you've got a copy here. Got to make sure it's 4x3 or 16:9. This is all 4x3. And boom. And there you go. So I'm capturing this live right now as it's rolling through the camera. As of, so I'm going to be doing this one by one, making sure if there's any skips or anything, because these people have never seen these things before. So this one here, I have to go through the software. I am going to try it in this camera because I think that camera was buggered. Yeah, this video mainly, oh God, magnets, good. This video mainly is now just a video on kind of counterintuitive to a lot of the mini DVD videos I've done in the past, which I've got 50, 60, I don't know. But this is a I'm backtracking now as these discs get older and more problematic, and disc rot and scratches and the camcorder's failing. I've done too many jobs recently where I can see the thumbnails and I go to finalize them, and then 4 or 5 minutes later I just hear this beep and I look and it says error, and I'm like, oh. So that means that potentially I've screwed up. People are like, hey, the footage was on there, and now created more work and more problems for myself. And then a lot of times the people don't get their footage. Like I'm just like, this will not recover. And I get calls, texts, emails constantly from people in the same boat. They're like, oh, I watched your videos, I finalized everything's good. But then these handful here like played fine through the camera, and now I finalized them and none of them are working. I've tried ISO Buster, CD roller, nothing is working. Do you have any answers? And I'm like, a time machine to go back and not finalize them? So that's where I'm at. I'm very reluctant now to start finalizing these things because it's just been getting worse and worse. So, if you're doing this yourself, be really careful with all your media. Make sure everything's clean, clear, the laser's clean. You got to use disc, solution you get off Amazon to clean the laser. If there's any fluff, if the camera's been dropped, people are buying them on eBay and they don't know the history. So, it could have been on, a flume ride at Disney, Splash Mountain, and they got a bunch of water on it in 2007. It could have been dropped by the kids, years ago. So then you're putting it in and it's not been tested, and you're putting the only copy of like the birth of your kids or birthdays, whatever, it is, and then you're putting it in, you're taking a big risk. So I would say right now, if you're doing this yourself and you are getting it to play through the camera perfectly fine and it's not finalized, I would honestly not finalize it. I would just run it through the camera. Hopefully you got the AV cable and the power cables and all this stuff, and just run it. And if you want to get the higher resolution off it, if you're really picky about it, then capture that backup copy first, then finalize it, and then get the raw files off it, and you can do what you want with it from there. I am still figuring out what I'm going to be doing here with mini DVDs. As with all of this stuff, because it's all degrading, I'm busier than can be. And you know, all these companies here are just hacking away at stuff, and there's just so much media out there, and most people have not stored it correctly, or it's just been haphazardly just kind of discarded, and then here we are years later, and you're trying to like unravel it all and figure out what's what. These companies, you know, any of these corporate companies, just any company really. I mean, I don't know, but you've got to see like high prices where you go, yeah, that sounds about right. You've got to see insanely good Google reviews, hopefully YouTube content, seeing where it's done, passionate, prideful person behind the scenes doing the work. There aren't many of us out there that really know what we're doing, and we really care. You've got to have a heart with this, because it's the only copy of priceless memories. If you've got stuff you don't care about, it's worthless or priceless. If it's worthless, throw it away. Don't waste your time, your money, your headache. No one's missed it in 20 years. Throw it away. I'm a big fan of purging, of throwing things out. People go, oh, I got 180 videotapes. I'm like, throw a ton of them out. I don't know. Give me 30. But you know, if it's important to you and you just like, you know, but all of this stuff is very time consuming to do correctly. So whoever you're choosing, due diligence, if you're doing it yourself, you know, eBay, OfferUp, Craigslist, disc cleaners, disc resurfacers. I've got a disc resurface here, JFI Easy Pro. You know, decent enough job. It is a dirty, you know, thing. This is like $300 or something like that. And yeah, so it's kind of, yeah, this job right here was all VHS tapes. Been told that they were kept indoors in climate control conditions, but I've been fighting this job for days because the vast majority of them have got major issues, like they've been stored in the garage. There's no mold on it. Mold is very common now, especially in humid climates. But yeah, all of this stuff requires a lot of attention to detail to make sure clear picture and audio is coming out, because everyone assumes that it is. Everyone assumes that companies are monitoring and fixing and correcting problems to restore clear picture and audio. Nothing could be further from the truth. They're just hitting play and walking away. Most of the labor force didn't even know what a VHS tape was until they were hired. They thought, oh, I see these things in movies. It's like a kaleidoscope, right? You kind of just click and just see the images. Well, that's typically who's transferring people's home movies nowadays. So it's just a job, you know. So anyway, all the best to you out there. Cheers.